I'm calling to order the August 4th Planning Board meeting. Is 6:07. My name is Stephanie Slish. I'm the chair. I have Bob Wagner, who's here virtually. He's the alternate chair. Paul Dostal here, and our administrative assistant, Gerard Bueno. First item on the agenda is a public forum for anyone here who is not on our agenda for a public forum. Now is the time to come speak. If you're all right, wait a second. Oh,
Somebody in the back.
Oh, can you come forward and sit in front of the microphone, the chair with the microphone?
I honestly have no idea how to do this process. But
Yeah, I know.
I like
Can you
to-
please sit down at the chair and speak in front of the microphone so everyone can hear you? Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
My name is Amy Matheson Starr. I live over on 13 South Street.
Mhm.
I like to learn how to petition the town to, at the moment, the Bardwells are stating that they own my driveway. But I have about 100 years of proof in deeds that I have a paper street in front of me, and that's my southern border. It's called the East Division Road. And I like to learn how to come and petition the town. Our home is for sale. It's been for sale for almost a year, unable to sell because the Bardwells are claiming easement rights over this particular 10 feet. So that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
Okay, what are the, have you been to the assessor's office?
I know, sir.
Town assessors?
No,
Because they're the
I
ones that have all
de-
the tax maps.
Okay, I also have deeds though that specify in very clearly, hence suddenly along East Division Road is a clear landmark. It's a paper street. It no longer exists. Because the division didn't.
Be coming to the planning board
Yeah,
for.
I
I
don't
think this
think
is
so.
something that would be with the assessors and
But
probably the deeds office, Hampshire
Yeah,
County
Hampshire
Deeds.
County Deeds Office.
Yeah,
Have
I
you-
don't believe that is in.
I mean,
Our
didn't the planning board in probably like 1926 map out?
Planning board probably in 1926.
I mean, somebody had to map out the division of this
Right.
land in order to make it streets.
That's where I think you would have to go to the Hampshire County Registry of Deeds
Okay,
to look at their documents. I don't know who to tell you to talk to down there. I don't know if it's open to the public because of what's going on, but that would be a starting point.
okay, so I don't need to come and petition the
Not
town
really,
to
no.
actually declare it a paper.
No, we're only dealing with if you were going to split your land or
I need to sell
wanna
my
make a
land
subdivision or
That wouldn't be with, that sounds more like Hampshire County and maybe land court even at some point if it escalates to that point. But that would be something that we wouldn't be, the planning board at least, wouldn't have any jurisdiction over that particular
Okay,
case of that. Yeah.
I
well,
would
thank you
think so.
very much for listening to me. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Best of luck.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
It's interesting.
Oh, old farmland, right? And farmer has the right of way or whatever. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to move to open a public hearing. Although there are only 3 of us, we need 4 to have any sort of official vote on this tonight. So this hasn't happened to us before, with at least since I've been on the board. So I'm curious before I open this too. Would it be okay for us to hear everything tonight and then have the other meeting members watch this? Would that qualify as them being presented to? Or do they have to be present at the public hearing in order to vote? Oh, we're not hearing you, Bob, if you're speaking. We still can't hear you. Apologize for the technical difficulties. It sounds like you're there now, no?
He's on.
Bob, we can hear your feedback in the background on your phone. Try speaking into your phone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Paul, you might remember from a number of years ago, there was a case, I think it was not present at all the meetings,
Right, he went, I
and
think
that
he
was,
went back and
and
watched
that
them.
was, and that was challenged in land court, that everyone who can vote, who votes on the special, and that was challenged in land court, that everyone who can vote, who votes on the special permit should be present for each of the meetings to hear all of the conversation and discussion and not vote at a subsequent meeting when they didn't attend the others.
Yeah. So, I guess probably the wise decision is then to continue this to next month.
Sorry, guys.
Let me see.
When-
Yeah. We were, I'm sorry that we,
I did, I
guess-
got a bunch of notes too for Mr. Blowers or,
Is it worth addressing any questions that you have so that in the next hearing we could?
I was curious about, there was some confusion for me on the number of employees that you have.
but before we get into it, because we have the other hearing is supposed to be first, but it'll be,
Uh,
Can I just ask one question?
Mhm.
Does the other
Yeah.
hearings,
Wait, before you start, this is Bob Wagner again. I think what we should do is not open the public hearing, but we could have this conversation and not have the official public hearing opened,
yeah,
but do the questions.
I need to address the continued hearing of the Thayer project first.
Okay.
So that was what I was just going to circle
okay.
back
I'm
to,
sorry.
and then we can go to that. So the Thayer project was continued hearing. That was something that we thought we would be addressing here tonight, but we are going to have to vote to continue the hearing till our September meeting because they're just waiting and to wrap up. They've went to the Conservation Commission and did it the week before round of something from. So we have to vote to continue the hearing tonight.
Yeah, I make a motion that we continue the Thayer King Street project to September 4th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Their project on King Street's continued to September 1st.
Or Sep-
Yep, September 1st. Okay. So now, yeah, so again, I really apologize that you've had probably all prepared for this and you're here for this tonight, and we are one member short from being able to fully hear you and officially keep this moving, and I apologize for that. We thought one of our members was going to be able to join virtually. With that being said, I'm not going to open the public hearing, and we'll save that for our next meeting. I don't think, do we need a vote to continue it or anything, just procedurally? I'm not quite sure. This is or do we just wait and have to?
I think.
Yeah, since we don't have a
open it and
quorum,
continue it so that
We can't open the public
publicly
hearing,
announced.
so there's nothing to continue, so.
Right, but the problem though is if we open it, there's only 3 of us here,
Right.
and but so would that then trigger the process of opening the hearing is kind of the question.
But if you don't discuss, then there's nothing for the absent. But this is a little outside of my.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I think if you don't open it, maybe if you announce when it's continued to. I think that's the important part is
Right.
that it's then been publicly announced.
can I just ask one question?
and then we can have an informal discussion. after
Sure,
the-
just, about procedurally, does it make sense for you guys to hear the other things that people are here for with the potential that the 4th member comes on, or the other things also needed to be voted on as well that are here tonight?
Technically, the public hearing notice says 6:15, so I think that there's,
Gotcha.
we might have some flexibility in moving it around, but
Gotcha. Okay.
sorry, I've never been in this situation yet before, so I apologize for not being prepared for this.
Steph, this is Bob. Since it is on the agenda, we can talk about it in a public hearing. I think Chris is right. We should acknowledge when it's going to be. But if Paul has any questions, there's no reason to not bring them up and have that conversation now.
Okay, so due to the fact we don't have a quorum to vote on this public hearing, the public hearing for 117 West Street, we are going to have this public hearing at our next meeting, September 1st, probably same time, same place. And again, I really apologize for that.
Who-
In the meantime, yeah, now
Okay.
we'll have some informal discussion about the project. Questions, Paul?
Just a couple quick questions. There were probably minor things. When I read the document, the history of the company, one place they talked about 8 employees, another place they talked about 16 employees, another part, I think they talked about 22 employees. So just curious if the numbers
Yeah,
are,
having just freshly read that, I think there's that one paragraph. On average, we're a 16-person company. We always have a slight spike in the summer months.
Okay.
Summer help, so you could call it between 15 and 20. That's just kind of our range. But I think the point of the smaller amount was more about the office occupancy, because for this is more of our office, so the administrative people, project managers tend to reside there during the day, whereas a lot of our employees are off at job sites.
so they're going to go to they're not going to go here every day. They're going to go from home to the job site most likely.
Yeah, I'd say 2/3 of the year, if not more, once they're set up, which is, always the goal. is
Okay.
that the workers go to the job sites, so. Granted, the building in the back is intended to go pick up equipment if it's needed, but it's always our goal to stage a site and work at that site. So it's our office, rental space for other small business, and then some storage or workshop space in the back.
And then the other thing, construction materials probably won't be stored there. It'll be delivered probably to your job site
Yeah,
for the most part.
yeah, in full transparency, it's like if we had a small leftover amount of, framing materials, it might end up there on a rack, but, if we're there on a rack, but, if we're building a building or a house, the product gets sent to the site as well.
What about vehicles? Vehicles that you don't normally drive, like a registered vehicle, a lull, a bobcat, a backhoe, or stuff that you don't drive up and down the street.
Yeah, well, so we have carpentry and excavation in-house, so if the excavation equipment isn't at a job, that's, an excavator or a skid steer might be parked out back in that situation.
Paul, may I ask a
Sure, go ahead.
follow-up question on that? So in the case of leftover material or the construction equipment, that would be parked in the back, not out in the front, or stored in the back, not in the front?
Correct, yeah, and our goal was because we are gonna have some small office rental space in that main building, our goal was to shield, that workshop was intentionally placed so that if we had anything on site, it would be behind that building, so you couldn't see it from the road. But yeah, we don't intend to put anything in front. Everything, if there's any leftover work materials, it would be on the back of the property.
And your request for a waiver on the traffic study is based on the on-site employees and the occasional seasonal employees or day-to-day workers that just come in on a temporary basis. Is that correct?
So sorry, my name is Andrew Bowen. I'm principal and designer for the project. Just to clarify, we actually believe that the one in our interpretation of the bylaw, that it's triggered on a building over 10,000 square feet, or for certain building uses like banks or fast food restaurants, things like that, that might be smaller than 10,000 square feet, but have more daily trips a day. So we don't think it's required. So we gave some background information on that. But if it is the interpretation of the planning board that it is required, we would request a waiver for that.
I was gonna say something. Bob, I thought it looked like you were getting your phone ready. There you go.
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Just curious, the potential tenants, what are you looking at, like a professional office or someone that would not have generate a lot of traffic? Or?
So we're really copying another business model. We currently reside in South Deerfield with our offices and our equipment's in Conway. So this is an opportunity to combine in one location. But that rental space, we're in a building right now that is full of, it could be, a therapist, a travel agent, some an accountant, someone that just, and it's funny, even in that situation, that they're not even there full time. It's just, they can't truly reside in their home.
They need some office.
They need some office space. And we feel that even after this whole past wild year, that's still a need for people. So yeah, and it's an old nursing home that was converted to these small office spaces, and it's full of businesses, and it's never full. It's really a place to meet a client, get home. It's that space. So.
Or really, we don't know who those potential tenants are. I don't know the potential impact of traffic then.
But I don't intend to break off a part of it and put a larger. It's all intended to be smaller, a one or two person business in that space.
Okay.
For office.
I think that's all I had from
Any other questions, Bob, on your end, and then or comments before we move on to maybe the next agenda item? Oh, you're muted again, or you don't have your phone up to you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
do you anticipate an equipment wash area there? You would be washing vehicles or equipment in that?
We do occasionally, when the weather permits, we'll take out a power washer to some of our trucks. So I don't want to say that we don't wash our equipment. I don't think we intended like a wash station or anything indoors. It's more just like a basic be able to spray down your equipment if needed.
So is there I'm just concerned about any hazardous, I know you say they're not going to store any flammable liquids or gases or no highly flammable, but if there's a wash area, I'm thinking about grease, oil, I don't know what else that could get into the water system or filter down through through that. I don't know if you have that taken into consideration here.
It's I'm just in full transparency. Even the way we kind of operate is like springtime comes and you get equipment ready to go, and you disperse them to jobs. So there's times where they come back. It could be a pickup truck, it could be a skid steer, and you're normally washing mud and debris off of it. Our site in Conway is very clean and organized. We just usually pull out a typical power washer and take 5 minutes. So I understand your concern. I don't know any hazardous or flammable. It's, the the hydraulic fluid's contained in the machine, the gas is contained, it's just like a car.
Are you
So,
using like soap or is it just a straight up power washer? Because I mean, you should be cleaning your equipment, right? If you're keeping good care
yeah, I
of
mean,
it. So
we use a soap, yeah. So if that was a concern of yours, how would that even be addressed typically? Is it something like a concrete pad or something, or?
Well, some type of a collection system, but if you're not, think of something like where Full Tilt Auto was, where they were washing, before them, they were washing, I think it was a Penske lease trucking company, so they had a collection system to collect the washing and
Mhm.
of course, they were changing a lot of, they were changing oil and hydraulics and brake fluid and all that kind of stuff. So they had a collection system built into that building.
Yeah.
But um,
Yeah, I could see more of like a mechanic style garage and maintenance triggering that, but our use is so light. Most of our equipment's newer, you know. Some of our equipment's even now, one of our things that we do is like restoration, ecological restoration work, where we work within the resource areas. And some of that now is triggering that our equipment actually has like biodegradable hydraulic fluid in it. So it's all kind of moving in that direction. Because we work in these sensitive sites, we can't have, you know, we have spill kits should anything ever happen. Drop something off, you know, leave it there until it's ready to go, maybe clean it.
so your equipment, do you own it or?
and then when it gets serviced, does someone come there or do you bring it somewhere? Just make it or that kind of
So both, like, well, you know, if John Deere will come or Bobcat will come and actually service our equipment either at job sites or at our shop, but, you know, they're set up for full, you know, any spill issue, it really doesn't happen. So,
Okay.
yeah, I understand your concern. It's, we're definitely not a mechanic's garage by any means.
just a little practice round, I guess.
Yeah.
Were those issues that were just discussed, were they raised at all with the Conservation Commission? Did they ask any such questions?
This is Andrew Bowen again, just, yeah, so we went through the Conservation Commission process. We talked extensively about how the site is going to be used, as well as the stormwater system was reviewed by a peer review as well, so that's been kind of vetted fully. So yeah, we've gone through and got our approval from Conservation Commission after being all of their conditions and adjustments, which were fairly minor adjustments, mostly based on peer review comments related to specific elevations, raising or lowering of outlets on structures by a couple inches. But
Anything else?
Just when I didn't read this in detail, saw that the storm freak from the, I don't know where they got this data, the technical paper from the number 40 rainfall frequency Atlas of the United States for durations from 30 minutes to 24 hours from 1 to 100 years have been estimated. So it's the numbers for July have just like throw everything off the page. So I don't know if that's going to be, well, none of us knows. We don't know what we don't know, if that's going to be something that's going to be continued or what's going to happen. Was there a letter from our,
in the stormwater standards, they're still based on kind of the historical data from, I think the last release was 2004, and then there's another, and so typically we use the more conservative numbers. It's up a little bit more land volume, but I think ultimately it's a much better ecological choice, so that's what.
So you're saying we voluntarily chose higher standards?
All right, anything
No.
else from you, Paul? You're all set, Bob, on your end for questions? And again, I really want to apologize. I know you guys put a lot of time and have been working on this for years at this point. We've seen you in and out of here, but hopefully we can do this right next month. And thank you for your time. And
It's just one comment. It is starting to become a time-sensitive project for us. So if you guys do have any additional questions, I don't know if you can ask them before the meeting. I don't know that process exactly, but we're happy to answer proactively.
Mhm.
Okay. So,
Absolutely.
So are you, let's say that this is if this is approved at the next meeting, do you plan to start construction this fall?
we would like to have that ability. Yeah, the sewer, our timing is really tied to that new sewer.
the sewer project.
Yeah, so there is a note in there for a large septic system that we chose not to pursue because of the septic, or the sewer extension.
Do we know when that's supposed to wrap up? Do you know when that's supposed to wrap up?
I've been told, Christmas kind of wrap up, but that phase, I know they've had some complications with the water line, so I don't know the exact timing. But for us to be able to begin the site work in the fall would be really helpful.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Oh. All right, next.
And unfortunately for Bob, I have a couple of handouts, which is all the material that has been submitted already, but he doesn't get a souvenir.
He sees it.
Chris, I think I've had a chance to look through all of that material, so I'm aware of what you want to do.
And I've been keeping.
There's sometimes that smaller version of the plan is a little easier to look at. And we have a full plan set. Again, the request we're making is narrow and specific, but if there are any questions at all about the larger project, we're prepared to talk all about it so that everyone has an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, this is a unique case, I feel like. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Maybe just introduce yourself for the record.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
I'm Chris Chamberlain. I'm a civil engineer with Berkshire Design Group, representing Debilitating Medical Conditions Treatment Center. You say it.
Debilitating Medical Condition Treatment Centers, plural, Inc.
Which from now on will be referred to as DMCTC. I'm here with Jared Glansberger from DMCTC, and I think on the meeting digitally is Isaac Fleischer from Bacon Wilson, who's the attorney for DMCTC.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep. Hi, Isaac.
Great.
Sure. And I may have just interrupted him with the same question. So what we're going to be looking for is a determination as to whether this project can move forward as an alteration or extension of a non-conforming use. And so our first question is, can 3 members approve that? We suspect that they probably interpretation of your zoning bylaw, but I think we should all be on the same page with that to start with.
This is Bob. My take on this is that we do have a quorum of the planning board, 3 out of 5. And you're correct, Chris, since this is not a special permit, but rather a determination of, in this case, whether this is an extension of a pre-existing non-conforming use. I think if we were to vote in the majority and you get a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 vote or 3-to-0 vote, that would suffice.
Great. And we agree, so we're happy to proceed under that, that understanding. So the project that's being proposed is marijuana manufacturing at 3 River Road, which is the C&A repair shop on a property that sits on the line between Whately and Hatfield. And to look on
Actually turn that back towards the camera so that we, yeah.
I was going to ask which direction it
Thanks.
should be pointed.
Thank you.
And I'll just note that this is the building here, and this is the town line here, and the plan set that I just handed out matches these. I think that's the third page, including the cover. So I didn't realize I'd have to go back and forth between the easel and the microphone, but we'll make it work. And so, most importantly, I want to emphasize that all of the proposed building activities and real active uses of the site are all to occur in Whately. As the small triangular piece on the bottom, as shown on the proposed site plan, is for the purposes of a driveway access and a portion of a parking lot in support of that use that's occurring in Whately. And so what we are requesting is that the portion of the Hatfield site, which is in the rural residential zone, marijuana manufacturing is not allowed in that zone. However, in the existing condition, the small engine repair shop and what's associated with that on the Hatfield portion of the site is really storage of lawn tractors and boats and materials and other such things that are associated with the business. That both that accessory use and the primary use is also not allowed in the rural residential zone. And I'll also note that, in fact, in the existing condition, there is a small informal curb cut for access into that portion of the site. And this business, which has been there since the 1970s, and we've reviewed aerial photos going back to 1992, which is the last time we have a clear shot at it. This portion of the site has been used in a similar manner for that entire time. And so what we are requesting is a finding from the planning board that this is an alteration or extension from an existing non-conforming use to a different non-conforming use that is allowable because the new use is not substantially more detrimental than the existing use, which is a provision of the zoning bylaw that I think you folks have had to deal with before. Just very briefly, I want to give you an understanding of what the new project is, just so that we can all be clear about what's going on here. The existing property includes a single-family house, which is addressed at 5 River Road, and the associated business, which is run by the owners of the property at 3 River Road. The proposal is to renovate that 3 River Road commercial building within the same footprint. There'll be no expansion. There'll be a small demolition, actually, which pulls the building away from Hatfield ever so slightly. There'll be extensive site cleanup. All of the junk and vehicles and cars and everything else will be gone. The invasive species we're proposing to remove. The extent of the site work that lies in Hatfield includes a porous aggregate surface parking lot, as well as landscape screening, including oak trees and evergreen juniper to screen that. In the existing condition, there are 2 curb cuts on the property associated with the residents here. 3. There's 2 formal curb cuts, one associated with the residents, one associated with the business, and that third sort of informal dirt driveway access. In the proposed condition, those 3 would remain. The residential curb cut would remain for the residents for their use. The existing commercial curb cut will be rebuilt with an aggregate surface, a chain across it, and planters to block it off. This is for occasional use to bring materials into the site, but for the most part is being minimized and is not for day-to-day use. And then an entry at the southern portion of the property for that main parking lot. It's more useful to flip to the proposed site plan. So again, we essentially rearrange a lot of the yard area and then create this parking lot on the south side of the building with a perpendicularly oriented driveway in and out.
Can you go back and just point to the line there, just for the people in the
which
The
line?
Talby, just
Right
to
here.
show what the parcel of the Hatfield parcel is being
Right here.
being proposed.
And so
So-
again, the extent of the work in Hatfield would be the cleanup, this portion of the driveway, and the landscape screening.
A lot of that's cleaned
So
up
Chris,
already.
a very small portion of the parking lot would be in Hatfield, is that correct?
Correct. I think on this latest revision, no actual parking space is in Hatfield, but some of the backing out space associated with a couple of them is.
So to me, it looks like on 3 that the majority of the Hatfield property is going to have some trees planted on it. And,
Correct.
All that debris is gone. You got the 6-inch white oaks and the junipers and so as Bob said, a very small portion of the
Correct.
thing is going to be in.
Yep, and then, we've provided images of what things look like today, although I suspect people are quite familiar with it. Some of those aerial photos I referenced, and then just sort of take some of the mystery out of the future is some images of a similar marijuana manufacturing facility, which looks much less like manufacturing and much more like a laboratory. It's a very clean setting. They're producing a product that gets pharma level testing, so everything has to be really tightly controlled. What goes on is that the plant material, which is harvested from the field, in fact, behind this property at 7 River Road, is going to be brought in, and the main activity is extraction of oils from the plants. That happens in a closed loop system, so there are no discharges. There's really no process waters that need to be dealt with on this site. Looking at traffic, there is a slight increase in traffic, although it's a shift from primarily customers now to primarily employees. There'll be 10 to 12 employees at the facility and very, very few visitors. Obviously, security and access is very tightly controlled on the property. In terms of context, I think that the reality of the site today versus the future speaks for itself in terms of the visual impact. We'd also note the engine repair and the sort of equipment that's associated with that does run the risk of leaks and other sort of environmental damage versus close to zero in the proposed condition with everything tightly controlled inside. And also that while manufacturing is the language the state uses, it's the language that describes this process, it's really processing of an agricultural product that we feel really does fit in this area of the world where there's actually quite a lot of heavy-duty agricultural processes that go on by right. We'd note that there are 2 permitted cannabis grow facilities, both the 7 River Road right behind us, and on the other side of what is Main Street in Hatfield with Bernie's property just down the road. So in light of the level of impact and the consistency with some of the operations that are already going on, we do feel that there's a strong case that this is not substantially more detrimental than the existing use. I think those are the highlights, but certainly happy to discuss sort of the particulars of this request.
So just to be clear, out of everything you just talked about with what's on the Whately side of the parcel, we are not, that's not up for us to decide. They're in the process with everything in Whately. What we're talking about is just the sliver of Hatfield. I would like to say too, you said there, there's no really active use happening on the Hatfield side, but our attorney said that technically cars driving in and out does create an active use. So just wanted to clarify that
Correct.
piece too.
We are obligated to come here because of the sort of legal definition of active. I guess I want to emphasize that the true land use, the primary land use, is all occurring in Whately, and that what we're looking at is an accessory use of parking to support that.
Has Whately already approved? You have a license, first of all, a license from the CCC?
Have a completed application. We're in the, what do you call it? We're waiting for our deemed complete, but it has been fully submitted and we're in the queue to get our professional.
The second part, has Whately given you a special permit? for this?
Site plan review has been approved and the special permit hearing is open. We're continued to tomorrow and we're hopeful that we'll get an approval tomorrow. And certainly if they deny us a special permit, then this whole conversation is moot, but.
This is Bob. I would say that given the vegetative screening that you'll be doing and the plantings, and in particular the cleaning up of the junk that's there, that this actually would be an improvement on the Hatfield side, regardless of what's going on the Whately side.
Yeah, especially since most of it is actually
Most of it's
landscaping.
gone.
Oh,
right?
yeah, now the cleanup. Yeah, and most of the additions to the Hatfield side is vegetative screening.
Yeah, but the material that was there is gone. It's clean. It's a clean site right now.
Well, who knows actually what's
Well,
in there.
I mean, I know the boat's gone.
And I would point out that the
And a
reason
lot
it
of
got
other
cleaned
stuff.
up so thoroughly is because they're look tenant to move in and be happy with it, but.
Okay.
But fair.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be 110% better than it looks, better than it was getting to be. I didn't realize that much of I didn't realize that was it actually
Yeah.
where the repair was. I thought I thought the line was where the road was to where the airport was.
More straight.
That farm road or whatever,
Right.
down to that airport, that hangar was. So I thought, I never realized that it sliced across.
I guess the only question or concern potentially is, the driveway, and I'm sure Whately's asked about, runoff and all of that, and has been addressing that, but that would be the concern that I would have, considering that parcel is, next to farmland there too.
Right, and so that's actually in part why we've gone with the porous surface so that we can, promote infiltration to the extent possible. And that's triggered by Whately's standard for coverage, which unlike most towns is very specific to impervious coverage because they want to do exactly that, is promote that infiltration to groundwater and support the water table.
I would make a motion that we make a determination that as proposed and with the landscaping plan as proposed, that this is a continuation of a non-conforming use.
I will second it. I think it's going to be a giant improvement for the property, and it won't be an eyesore. And I think I don't think it's going to affect. I don't think it's going to be, as I said, any more detrimental to the neighborhood than it was in the past. It's like I said, 110% better. So
So you seconded?
I'm seconding it.
Any other further discussion or comments on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, but good luck in Whately then.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, next on the agenda, we have approval not required for 72 West Street. Is someone here from 72 West Street to speak? Great. Could you move to the front chair with the microphone and introduce yourself? And
My name is Daniel Stalls. I'm the land surveyor that did the plan. Joe's on vacation, so he asked me to swing by if you have any questions.
apparently our other board members are too. All right. This seems pretty,
It was pretty,
this seems pretty,
it was pretty straightforward. I put a
Straightforward,
kind of a building envelope area, just because it's kind of a weird looking property, so I put it.
I know, I don't, do I have that? I don't know if I have that.
Yeah, I submitted all the copies, Mylar, paper.
Yeah, remember I looked at it
Oh, is it in?
and I gave it back to you? No,
We'll just
it's
go grab
last
that.
week.
We have the application, one for each of us. Yeah, and we have to sign them all, and they have to get filed places. Yeah,
This is all,
that's
This is
all.
all
Skeets.
Berkshire.
Yeah, so we have to save that for September.
Right.
It'll just be 1 second.
because
I think he came in and talked to us, or someone talked to us about doing, like, kind of giving us a head, or questioning some of this. So we kind of knew this was coming, and so it
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Well, I
Fairly
spent a
straight-
fair amount of time looking at it before I even gave him a price, just because it is a really strange looking.
Yeah, it's like narrow and long, right? Yeah. Bob can't see. Might be up there on that, or hold one up there so the folks that are virtual can see. Thank you.
this is 72
Mhm.
West Street.
You know where they have that little that little cut off barn that they clearly
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
yeah,
tobacco
yeah,
barn
yeah,
that they
yeah,
cut
yeah.
off when they put 91 in? Mm-hmm. And then there's a house. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Sorry. We're just taking a look at this now. So, yeah, explaining just a little parcel while we take a look at this.
I did put that zoning setback line on just to show where a house might be able to fit.
Mhm.
I think there was a thought that he was gonna try and petition to get a sewer lateral put in now, so that the wouldn't need a septic system.
Oh, yeah, because that sewer project
Is
that
going on now, so
opens
he
up.
was
Yep.
gonna talk to somebody in the town about that, so.
It's got 40,
So,
it's got 49,000 square feet here, 52,000 square feet here. This was it with the house.
Yep.
It's got the so he's got more than enough.
Yeah, and there's
Road
217 here, frontage here. Yep, so that's good. Yeah, because it's really just the frontage requirements and then the
yeah, and I held the
square
minimum,
footage along with the setback requirements. And
and I held the minimum setback off the existing house.
It's okay to me. I don't have any questions. Is this going to be for sale? You don't know.
I don't know what his plans are.
Bob, were you able to take a look at that at least through the television screen?
Yeah, I looked at the material that was sent earlier.
Great.
And it seems to meet all of the standards and requirements.
Yep. Fairly straightforward. So yeah, we need to have, does every member, even if they're not here, sign it? Or is it just the ones who are here sign it?
I think we can all sign it. We gotta, I don't think we need 5, do we, Bob?
No, you don't need 5 signatures.
So yeah, are you going to be in these, Bob? If we're down to sign these, Bob. Once we make the vote. Should we make a motion to?
Okay. I'll make a motion. Hiltier at 72 West Street for the the 2 parcels located on routes 5 and 10.
Bob, you're muted. Oh, there we go.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank you
you're
very much.
approved. Yeah, we'll just have to get signatures on this and then,
I'll tell Joe it's all set. I'll swing by at some point.
yeah, Bob, when will you be around to sign this, just so he knows when?
Yeah, let me check in with Gerard tomorrow.
Well, Gerard will be in touch then when these are all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll move these. Just gonna move these out of my way. Thanks, Bob. Be careful with your microphone.
For self-storage, issued in 2004 and 2013. But those two permits only speak explicitly to the 7 drive-up buildings on the site, which is about 30,000 square feet. In addition, there is about 10,000 square feet currently being used to storage that's not in those 2 buildings. It's a combination of modular units and the put on the site an additional 5,700 square feet of modular units. So roughly a 10% expansion of the property. There are 4 areas that we wanted to discuss with the board and hear your thoughts and comments and questions about whether the storage operations, including what I'm about to describe, all fit within those original 2 special permits, or whether you think that we should seek a fund to include the other things that are being done on the site currently that weren't mentioned in the 2004 and 2013 permits. Does that make sense? So the 4 areas that we want to discuss with you are, as I said, the storage that's going on in the main warehouse building, which is climate controlled, air conditioned, which is about 7,300 square feet. There are quasi-portable units that are on the site today, and those modular units are about 3,000 square feet. There's an order of new modular units that we'd like to install on the site, and those new modular units would, as I said, be about 5,700 square feet. And then lastly, vehicle storage is currently being done on the site. And that's something that's been done since gone back and done the research on all of the prior permits for this lot. And as I think you guys probably know well, because it came up during full tilt. From the first permit in 85, 86, where the building was constructed for automobile sales, service, and storage. Then in 92, it was revised for RV sales, service, and storage. And then in 95, it was revised for vehicle maintenance and storage. And in 2000, it was revised for storage and mixing of turf seeds. So, and then, as I said, on prior or subsequent to those permits, it was permitted for self-storage, at least for the original 7 newly constructed drive-up buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, maybe I should stop and let Chris just describe the site plan and what we're thinking.
Sure, and just to highlight some of those areas. So this, which is the 2-story and about 7,500.
Can I just
Yeah.
remind these guys we're full tilt?
Oh,
So this corner, this half of the building is the full tilt space. This is what I'm calling the warehouse storage space. This is actually single story.
Yeah.
There are modular units on the side.
Modular units.
Those are existing.
And then down here are the 7 drive-up units, which were approved in 2004. 6 of them were built at that time, and then the owner came back in 2013 because this rear unit had not been built yet to renew the permits and get permission to build the structure. And aside from that, the majority of the lot is covered by pavement and gravel yard space, and there are really no proposed site changes in terms of rearrangement of any of the impervious areas or buildings. It is, and so again, is a new owner need to make sure that when they buy this property, that they have permission to do everything that they think they have permission to do. And so we're looking for interpretation from the planning board of the existing approvals, as well as any non-conforming uses that have historically gone on the site that continue to be there, that those are allowed. And if it's necessary to go through a more formal process with an application, then we're certainly happy to do that. And I think that's Or the highlights.
Hey, Chris, 100 square feet of storage go. Where is that on the site plan?
This is Doug. You know, we're waiting for your feedback before we place those units. So the line example parking lot.
Mhm.
To the right, to the left, to the left.
This gravel area
gravel
where
area.
it says, where it says the Jandro Group, that area?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so sort of what this comes down to is that the documentation for the special permits, well, let me sort of summarize the four pieces of use of this site. And I've got these ordered sort of from most clear to least clear as to permission for the use. So there's the drive-up units at the bottom of the page that are very clearly and explicitly approved in 2004 and 2013 for use as self-storage. There is parcel self-storage as a use of this property, but the special permit doesn't address directly storage of the modular units, which again has been ongoing but is not directly addressed under the special permit. And then we've got the non-conforming use of the vehicle storage, which since the very early uses of this property, whether it be for repair businesses or sales and service, or as part of a storage business, has been used of vehicles, and so the question is this a continuation, extension of that non-conforming use on the site? And the special permit doesn't address all under a finding similar to what we were talking about the last time I was at the microphone.
Right.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
So I'm just, there's one more. Go ahead, get to the fourth one if you want. And then.
Oh, that was I did split that middle, those two similar middle uses into two. So there's the drive-up units, there's the storage inside the main building, there's the modular units, and then there's vehicle storage.
So what are you looking? You're just trying to see what you can do based on because it's like
At this point, our question to the planning board is, in your interpretation of the current approvals for the site, which, or perhaps all, hopefully, of those uses are currently authorized under your understanding of the permits, and to the extent that any of those in your interpretation are not currently authorized, we want to be clear on what the path would be to request the use of that going forward when Doug and his organization, if they take ownership of the property. And that would be up to and including an amendment of the special permit. We certainly have to go through if that's necessary. But it's more a question of that Doug has assurance and documentation that this is all happening the way it's supposed to be.
right. You know what you're getting into.
Right.
Are there vehicles stored in there now?
There are. Somewhere in the order of 35 vehicles are on that site. And it's been, since Tony bought it 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, cars or something like that?
Some of them are, well, I don't know which ones are stored inside. Second car, or third car. They didn't have room. The clients live more than 5 miles away, which is really unusual. So I'm thinking there are a lot of vacationers and weekenders who leave their RVs or leave their boat or leave their car.
Yeah, I actually 4
Yeah.
permit. So like I think we need to look at the ones you're referencing from earlier than that in order for us to make a thorough
Yeah.
decision on that, to be honest. But
I think in my opinion, it would be a problem. I don't have a problem with it. But I'd like to look at in the past where USA Waste is out there, there was a previous company that had a special permit, and we had a new owner, they had to come, so you would have to come before the board and request a special permit, because it's your name or your company's name now. But,
Yeah.
um,
Well, what our plan was to, I think as long as Tony signs the application through the board weeks ago, I got a copy of the
zoning bylaws.
no,
Permits?
the actual application or I'm sorry, I guess the instructions for applying, right? And having looked through that, it looks like as long as Tony signs it, I can bring it to the board.
We would need to discuss the addition of the 5,700 square feet of storage space, which would make sense. Not only impact on lot coverage, but also what impacts it might be on stormwater management as well. I mean, you said that's a gravel parking area, right? So that's not macadam?
Correct.
Yes. So this would be impervious surfaces on that site.
Physical construction of extra something, then that would be, you'd have to apply for that. I feel like, no, that's changed. Like Bob said.
What would that 5,700 square feet mean to overall lot coverage and our lot coverage limits?
This is just the 2,000.
This is Doug, lot coverage to spare.
So when I'm looking at the, I mean, this is just the 2,000. Says the maximum coverage was 30% back in building activity there. It's about 20%, it says. So we just have to.
Right. Well, we will have to check it. Now, they may not have been including both lots in that calculation. So apologies, we'll have to come back with
two
the
different.
lot of square footage there.
Yeah, there is a lot of, wetlands too, which is why there's,
Yeah.
some
Yep.
stuff there. I think we need to look at all of the permits because like I said, we only have one. Because I don't know if it was clear what was being asked.
And we pulled essentially full permit record through town. So I think
Yeah, I read through them and they looked fine.